Today we got a brand new trailer for Tears of the Kingdom for The Legend of Zelda, so let's check it out.
Lockhart QT.
The trailer starts off with an amazing aerial shot of Hyrule, showing the Sky Islands and Hyrule sort of link skydiving as we've seen in other trailers, and it just looks really good overall, and I cannot wait for this game. This was the trailer we needed, and let's continue on with it. We also see in the trailer that we have the return of towns, villages from the previous games. We also see tents with residents in Hyrule Town, sort of like in the ruins with the courtyard and the water fountain, just before you get to Hyrule Castle, which was previously sort of one of the hardest areas in the game and was sort of like an end game area, which was occupied and protected by the Guardians. We also have a mysterious structure in Rito Desert appearing out of the sand, which could lead to or tease the fact that classic dungeons may be returning. Because if you guys remember, in Breath of the Wild, we didn't actually have classic dungeons. We more had the shrines, which were sort of like mini bite-sized dungeons, and then obviously we had the 4 divine beasts, which were the more, I guess, like classic-esque dungeons, but people still want to return to the dungeons such as the Wind Dungeon from the Wind Waker, as well as the Water Temple from Ocarina of Time, etc, etc, and more classic-style design. So again, we're going to have to wait and see if they are returning or not. We also once again see in this trailer the moment when Hyrule Castle ascends, plus the falling rocks that Link can use to get up into the sky. Then, and the biggest takeaway from this trailer, which I was really surprised they showed, because this is a sort of like an end game thing really. I'm really surprised they're showing this early on. I suppose it's because we've also had the art book leaks, which I personally haven't seen, but hey ho. And we finally see Ganon, who looks like a combination of his designs from Ocarina of Time, Wind Waker, the Twilight Princess, and obviously Demise from Skyward Sword. It's kind of like a combination of all 4. Personally, I'm really loving this design, and I just cannot wait to see and hear Ganon in-game. I think he's going to be an incredible boss, because I think that's what we were sorely missing from Breath of the Wild. As good as Breath of the Wild was, Ganon, his presence was sorely missing, as we obviously had the Calamity, but here we have Ganon in his true form, and I cannot wait to see him. We also see a new version of the falling scene from past trailers, which looks like to be at the start of the game, which looks slightly different with different lighting, and a yellow glow appearing from Zelda as she falls, which could be something to do with how she survives the fall, perhaps. Perhaps it's her power or the teardrop powers that we see later on. Now, I've talked about this in my previous video on the Tears of the Kingdom, but we actually see a new underground area with caves, caverns, minecarts, and this is a whole new area which could be essentially either the Dark World or just underground underneath Hyrule Castle, because obviously when Hyrule Castle ascends into the sky, it obviously leaves this massive gap, which I presume we'll be able to go underground in. But I presume we'll also be able to enter sort of like overworld caves and things like that. And later on in the trailer we also see like a sort of tandem minecart fight, which is really cool, where you've got a construct, I think it's a construct in the minecart next to you, and you're like shooting arrows. I think that's so cool, and I can't wait to see that in game. But here's where the trailer gets really crazy, and from here we get loads of jump cuts with loads of little things, so I'll be going through them individually. First off, we get a giant pirate ship in the Rito Desert. We get floating bubbles for platforming, which is probably going to be a mechanic in a dungeon perhaps. We also get skydiving through laser traps, which is giving me major Sonic Generations, Sonic Frontiers and Sonic Forces vibes. We also have a puzzle where Link is turning a room around, which again could allude to the fact that classic dungeon designs are returning for Tears of the Kingdom, but again, we don't know this just yet. We also have a new mechanic in swinging around a lance when riding a horse. This looks really cool. Imagine like going into battle Ganon on a horse and then you're just like swinging around a sword or a lance or an axe. I think that's going to be so cool. It was just something that it's a little thing, but it's something that I really liked in the trailer. Now, we see a brand new character which could have something to do with the Zonai. Again, we're not really too sure on who this character is, but we do see later in the trailer a shot of both this character and Zelda, and Zelda's new design matches up with this new character almost perfectly. We see sort of like the same headpiece, we see the sort of like the same teardrop necklace. Again though, we don't know too much, so let's get right on with it with some more stuff. We have a giant construct enemy which looks like it's inside of a temple, and it sort of like comes out the wall. Then we see Princess Zelda inside a similarly designed temple with massive cogwheels, with a voice saying saying that Link is their only hope to defeat Ganon. Then we see Link picking up the Master Sword, which in here is in perfect condition and is not damaged by the malice. And it could be from the moment where we actually retrieve the Master Sword again after it's been fixed somehow in-game. Because like I've said before, we actually see in past trailers and key art and other screenshots and things that the Master Sword is essentially corroded away and broken in half. So I think the whole point of the game for the story in one moment is us going to be actually repairing the Master Sword, sort of similarly how to maybe you know, we go to the Korok Forest, sort of like how we did in Breath of the Wild, but we don't know just yet. Now we also see Link flying on a few different sections with a new Rito character, who are essentially the bird-like race that we see in both the Wind Waker and Breath of the Wild, which could be related to Teba from Breath of the Wild. He was a character and one of the 4 descendants of the champions that we meet, and perhaps they share, you know, the same family. Perhaps it's Teba's child. Again, we don't know we don't actually know yet. If you do know, please tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear it, because I'm thinking this because they're wearing similar clothes and they have the same feather colorizations, so again we're going to have to wait and see. We then see Link carrying around townspeople along in a cart with your horse using Ultra Hand. It's sort of like attached to your horse, which could be used for side quests, as this feature can really just be opened up a lot of possibilities. We could be carrying cargo for side quests, doing deliveries, again saving people and then taking them back to the town. Again, it's a very small feature, but it opens up a lot of possibilities for side quests. We now see Link using a rocket to shoot up into the sky to reach a higher platform, which is something we haven't seen yet, and it's a bit bizarre to see in a Zelda game. We also see Link platforming on platforms that are actually similarly designed to the ones that we see with the bubbles earlier on in the trailer, but instead it's almost as if they're in zero gravity, as Link is actually, instead of just jumping, he's like slowly like float jumping towards each one. So again, we're going to have to wait to see more on that. We also see Link assembling a block with arms, weapons and wheels to fight some bokoblins in sort of like a, I guess like Power Ranger Mechazord battle. Obviously not as big, but again, I think that this could be used for some really crazy things. Imagine making like a giant, like I said, really like Megazord, like Godzilla type creations out of blocks and trees and weapons and different things. Again, the fact that this game lets you build things and create things and stick things together is just a really cool feature. We now again see Link with the brand new Rito character flying with a new type of enemy appearing out of either like a portal or a whirlpool, and it's essentially coming out to eat them. So again, this looks like a big boss that will fight in the game, because there are a few different shots in the trailer that sort of lead up to this moment. So again, I think this is one of a big bosses, perhaps at the end of a temple, and I'll go on to this a bit more later. We now see Zelda again stating that she knows why she's here, what her purpose is, and she's waiting for Link to come rescue her and find her so they can perhaps defeat Ganon together. She's holding some kind of teardrop glowing of yellow energy, like I've mentioned earlier, which could be relating to the actual title of the game being Tears of the Kingdom, which could now be some kind of new MacGuffin perhaps, or powerful relic, or a weapon to use against Ganon. Again, this is either relating to something to the Zonai or the other races in the game, or perhaps the goddess Hylia. Again, we'll have to wait and see. We then get several scenes flashing past really quickly, so I'll just go over them as well. We have Link fighting a purple black shark-like creature that's like made of goop and popping out of the ground. We then see and hear Ganon again as he attacks Link and damages his arm, basically using the malice from Breath of the Wild to corrode his arm. As we see when he's reaching for Zelda, his arm is extremely badly damaged. We then see a new character with the teardrop around her neck, using a power similar to Zelda, as I mentioned earlier. At the minute we don't know who this is, but my guess is, like I said earlier, she's related to the Zonai or the goddess Hylia in some way. We then get different shots of past characters that we meet in Breath of the Wild, in scenes where it appears allies actually fighting alongside Link during combat. This is really interesting for me, as we actually see Prince Sidon from Breath of the Wild fighting alongside Link. So the question is now, who can fight alongside Link? Which other characters during certain missions can actually join up Link? Well, personally, I think it's going to be Riju, who was the Gerudo chieftain, the little girl with the helmet and the sword from Breath of the Wild. And then I think we'll also have obviously Prince Sidon, the new Rito character, and I forget his name, but it's the young Goron that we meet. But again, tell me in the comments, which other characters do you think we'll see fighting alongside Link? And finally, we obviously see Link, Prince Sidon, the new Rito character, and Riju going up against a giant three-headed Hydra dragon boss in a cutscene, which we've actually seen in previous trailers, sort of in the background, but we haven't seen in its entirety yet. Anyway everyone, thank you so much for watching this video. This has sort of been a light breakdown of the new Zelda trailer. I'm really excited for Tears of the Kingdom. This was the exact trailer we needed. This gives me similar vibes to I think it was the final trailer that we got for Breath of the Wild, which was, in my opinion, it's one of the best trailers that has ever come out for a video game. The original one back in 2017, that trailer just blew everyone away. It made everyone go out and get a Switch. And this trailer, it's sort of, I will admit it's not as good, it didn't have the same impact, but it did give me similar vibes. It was just a really great trailer overall. Tell me in the comments, guys, what did you think of this trailer? Are you excited for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom? Are you going to get it? I know I am, and I'm definitely going to cover it more on the channel. So thank you so much for watching, and for more Nintendo, Mass Effect, Final Fantasy and other gaming content, stay subscribed to the channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!